Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, we are three friends and metalheads who meet up to discuss some of the world's best metal albums in a fun and lighthearted way. So we hope you don't take it too seriously. We try to keep this entertaining and not too serious. This is our first episode on the 2-week format. We've been doing it every 1 week, but we feel like we need more time to listen to these albums to let them sink in, as well as give us more time to edit the footage. So we think the final product's going to be much better with the 2-week format. So thank you for being patient with us. Today's episode is all about the band Slayer. It's a fun one, so enjoy. My name's Matt.
I'm Behn.
And I'm Corey.
And this is the Heavy Metal Melee podcast.
Matt, where are you? This background's different today.
Oh yeah, I'm very red.
Yeah,
very angry. I don't know why. I just have a certain rage today.
Is it Nightwish causing this rage?
Maybe, but I don't think so.
Nah. Must be fucking Slayer.
Fucking Slayer!
Which is the correct way to say the name of the band. So last week we discussed Nightwish in great detail with our friend.
Very much great detail.
Very good detail.
Yeah. But they need a contender now, so the melee continues.
We found the closest band we could find to Nightwish.
As similar as you can get.
Yeah, we needed to do a fair comparison. So we thought, well, who's the next thing to Nightwish? Probably Slayer. So we got a bit of trash talk to kick us off today.
Oh, do tell.
So Floor Jansen, the newest singer of Nightwish, she's been with them for a few years now. She mentioned Slayer on a podcast a few weeks ago, and she said she was asked basically. So the question was, "What's the most metal album you own?" And she said, "Some would say Slayer, but I think they're a dreadful band, unbelievably boring, terrible." Apparently, it's not metal to say that, but it's a personal opinion.
But
she's in a metal band.
She's also a singer, and I feel like a singer is going to have that opinion because she's looking at the singing style of Slayer. And come on, you're like,
no one has more beautiful vocals than Tom Araya. Okay.
Yeah. I've heard Tom Araya cover Ghost Love Score, and it was fucking awesome. So
did that happen, or did you just make that up?
That definitely didn't happen.
But
both songs to cover.
It would be really good.
It would also be about 2 minutes long rather than 10 minutes.
It's like 10 times speed.
It'd be 2 minutes long, and apparently this ghost is very angry.
Ghost angry score.
Ghost Love Score! So, she's got her opinion, whatever. Who cares? She had to come out with an Instagram post after being like, oh, it was taken out of context, blah, 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 because she was getting so much abuse.
I mean, it always is taken out of context, I feel like.
And it's always like, who gives a shit? Whatever, you don't need to abuse her just for a fucking opinion, Yeah.
I mean,
anyway,
I don't know. I was just looking at like an ad from Steven Wilson on Facebook, and the entire comment section, this is somewhat related, but not really, but the entire comment section was just people like, how dare you diss Eddie Van Halen? And I had to look it up, and apparently he said something about Eddie Van Halen like a month ago, and like now everyone hates him.
Well, you got to respect the dead, so come on, don't be.
But it was completely taken out of context. Like
no,
it was
course,
just
yeah.
like, and you got to watch that.
Nothing's ever taken within context.
No, because those fucking like all these news sites, they always pick the most the controversial thing in any like interview. Yeah, and they put it at the top.
Exactly. And also, who gives a shit what fucking Floor has to say about Slay? She just said somebody asked her like a leading question and she answered it, and it's like, whatever, you don't need to give her abuse.
I would be way more surprised if Floor liked Slayer. Like that would be a shocking revelation to me.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, anyway, is she right? I guess we'll find out in this episode. So Slayer, they are part of the Big Four, obviously, Big Four of thrash. I'd say they're the most controversial of the Big Four. in terms of opinion on them.
Definitely.
I think
a lot of that has to do with their fan base.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not their theme.
Yeah.
Definitely has nothing to do with what they sing.
Whatever. I mean, that's like typical for metal. I'm not, but their fan base can get a little annoying.
Yeah, they
Sorry,
have a
Slayer fans.
Slayer.
You don't have to be like this.
Yeah.
Fucking Slayer!
Well, they're retired now, so hopefully that's kind of died out a bit now. But so I had a question for you guys. So the big four, right? So this is the third of the big four we've done so far. We will do an Anthrax at some point, maybe. One thing I think we can all agree on is that thrash metal has a lot of variation. So I think they're all tied together by certain things. But
there's a certain sound, especially like in the guitars. I feel like a lot of the guitar work is very similar between the bands, but everything else. Especially like vocals. Vocals are the one thing where like every one of these bands are completely different.
Very different.
So if you had to describe the big four, each of them in one word, and the word can't be shit, by the way, Matt. How would you guys describe them all?
Like each one?
Yeah, like each one separately. So to just distinct them. So I'll tell you, I'll start off. So I've done it. So I put for Metallica, I think they were epic. Like they brought an epic element to thrash that the other bands don't do, basically. Megadeth, I put emotional.
Definitely.
I think it's just purely driven by Dave Mustaine and whatever he's going through at the time. Slayer, I say are morbid. Like they are the most unsettling of the big four, I would say. They're kind of like, I don't know, at times Slayer seems like outsider art to me. It's kind of like they were never meant to be anything other than this kind of weird, fringe band. But obviously their music was connected to enough people that they became a big thing. And for Anthrax, I just put punk.
I mean, you're not completely wrong there. I mean, you would say that like of the big four, they definitely pull the most influence from the punk pool.
Really? I don't know. I haven't heard a whole lot of Anthrax, but the songs I've heard don't sound particularly punky. In fact, they sound more similar to like Judas Priest.
No, I mean in terms of the attitude, like their lyrics, their contents of their lyrics are more punky.
Like if I were to describe Anthrax in one word, it'd be like college. I feel like it's just like I don't know, they're fun, they're upbeat, they're up tempo. There's something about them that's a little bit more like easy to just like.
Yeah.
They're not a very hateable band.
They're a likable band. They're a likable people as well, from what I've seen in interviews and stuff. Like if you're gonna have a beer with
metal
them,
at all. Fucking
exactly. That's the thing.
How dare they be likable?
I mean, you have at least one asshole in the other big three. You have Kerry King and Slayer.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone perceives him as a big asshole. Then you have Dave Mustaine, who everyone, even the assholes, call him assholes.
King asshole.
And then you have Lars over in Metallica.
They're not the most likable bunch. But
those three in a room and you're gonna get some content, that's for sure.
Jesus.
I watched some footage of they did a tour together, right? A while back.
Slayer and the big four in like 2010.
And it was so funny watching the behind the scenes stuff. Like I think James Hetfield tried to talk to the guys from Slayer and they just wouldn't talk to him. They were just scowling.
It's so funny, like all these guys. You know what I've realized, like doing a lot of research on the big four and stuff, and especially like the whole Bay Area thrash scene. They're still like college kids, like to each other, because they got that kind of pettiness.
Like, petty is like a good word.
And you can see like the dynamics of when they were teenagers still carries forward to this day.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm all for, by the way. I'm the same. I hold a grudge. I am petty as fuck to some people. So.
Well, what did James Hetfield do to Slayer though? I mean, I know what he did to Mustaine,
Dave Mustaine, but
I'm not sure what he did to Slayer.
I think
maybe they think he's a sellout or something because his band got way more popular.
And I don't even think it's probably most of Slayer. I think it's probably just Kerry King.
No, I don't think it was Kerry King. I think it was.
Was it Hanneman?
I think it was, yeah.
Really? I wouldn't have expected that. Kerry King just seems to hate everyone.
So I think I told you guys I watched that documentary, Murder in the Front Row. It's called. It's on Amazon, and it's all about the Bay Area thrash scene and like all the bands. Like, it's crazy that like all of these amazing bands all were in the same time at the same place, and Metallica were definitely like, if you're gonna like categorize it, Metallica came slightly before the other ones. Obviously, Dave Mustaine was in Metallica at that time, so Megadeth, were kind of part of that. But
yeah, he liked to think so.
Yeah, Metallica left the Bay Area before a lot of these other bands started playing more regularly. So they kind of took off before all of the other ones. So maybe it's just that they didn't really interact that much, and so they're just kind of like got a kind of standoffish attitude to them. I don't know.
I mean, I it's got to be like the fact that they're often just in Metallica's shadow, and that sucks. Like, everyone wants to be the best at what they do, and like if another band is always more popular and like everyone's like, oh, you're kind of like Metallica, right? Like, it's got to fucking irritate the hell out of them.
I mean, especially Dave Mustaine.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, they're called the Big Four, but let's be honest, it's the Big One plus three others. It's like, if you try and compare Metallica on any metric really to the others, imagine like a normal person who's listened to Metallica and was like, oh, I kind of like this, Enter Sandman and stuff.
Enter Sandman.
Nothing else matters.
And then they're like, oh, I'm gonna check out the Big Four. What's this? The Big Four of thrash. Oh, Slayer. Okay, so they're like Metallica, right? It's like, nah, they're not like Metallica, mate.
So, I wish you didn't give us the question beforehand with the four like words we'd use.
I just sprung that on you guys.
Oh, does Matt have his word?
I'm thinking.
Can't be shit, remember?
It can't be shit. All right, never mind.
So sorry. Don't worry, Dave. You're safe.
Okay. So for Metallica, I'd probably use the word composed. I feel like their music is typically just the most well composed.
I like that because it kind of indicates that the others are maybe not so composed. There's
nothing wrong with that. Like, it's just, I feel like Metallica puts a bit more effort into the structures of their songs.
So Metallica, well, so another thing I learned from this documentary is like Metallica were almost like a supergroup. Like, they cherry picked the bass player Cliff Burton from another band. They took Kirk Hammett from Exodus. They were kind of like, focused, and they knew what they wanted to do. So yeah, I'd give you that.
For Megadeth, honestly, silly is the word that comes to mind. Like, it feels like a band that was invented by like a comic book writer.
Well, don't worry, everyone. If you thought the only Mustaine fashion was in the Megadeth episode,
no,
you're dead wrong.
Carries over to this one too. For Slayer, I've got to go with like rage. Like, there's no other word I can use. Like, it just sounds angry at every level.
Yeah.
And for Anthrax, I haven't honestly heard enough of their music that I would be able to give one. But for the event, eventually, I guess we'll do them. So I'll be able to figure it out.
One day, we'll get to them. Metallica, structured was pretty good. Or, well, you said composed, but structured, same thing. Megadeth, I actually agree with Venom on that one. Very emotional. There's a few albums that you really see it, especially So Far, So Good, So What. I think that one was one of the more brutal ones. For Slayer, brutal is my word. Like, they are just, it just feels like they're just constantly punching you in the face and you can't get away. It's a good.
Right.
Good.
You're asking for more.
Just asking for
Please punch me in the face more, Kerry King.
With that brutality. And Anthrax, I still think it's like, I mean, I could go with college, but like fun.
Yeah, fun is a good word.
Like, fun is a really, because they get some great pit songs.
Oh, so yeah, they're just in a different wavelength. But so yeah, well, I mean, Slayer, we all kind of picked similar words. So you said rage, we got brutal and morbid. So that kind of sums them up, really. Definitely the biggest influence on extreme metal of all of the thrash bands, I would say.
Definitely.
If you listen to like death metal, especially, you can feel the Slayer in a lot of those bands. And I know a lot of them started up at the same time, so maybe they weren't listening to Slayer, but you can definitely feel it. and black metal as well, especially with the drumming. I feel like the drumming. So Dave Lombardo definitely was a big influence for a lot of the newer black metal and death metal bands. And lyrically, like Slayer are a lot more dark. I would say even more dark than, we've talked about Metallica albums already, but Slayer are just next level in terms of.
I was about to say Metallica is nothing on them when it comes to some of these lyrics because they're
crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, so this is this is from Wikipedia. This describes the lyrical content of Slayer. It says the band's lyrics, which cover such topics as murder, serial killers, torture, genocide, politics, human subject research, organized crime, secret societies, mythology, occultism, Satanism, hate crimes, terrorism, religion or anti-religion, Nazism, fascism, racism, xenophobia, war, and prison.
Yeah. Well, I hope they're at least against some of those things.
Well, Tom Araya is a devout Christian. So.
Yeah, which is kind of funny to think about.
Wait, is that true?
Yeah, he's a Christian.
He's Christian. Well, yeah, but he's Christian
in the loose term.
I don't think he's the guy who goes to church every Sunday.
Singing those hymns.
Yeah,
exactly. But it's just really funny to see some of these lyrics, and you're just like, Tom is like, yeah, I got it.
That's cool.
I can do it.
I got no problem with this.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked at the lyrics, so I don't know if this is the case. But are they generally against those things, or are they supportive of those things? Like
they kind of
depends on who's writing it.
Yeah, I would say they're matter of fact about it. Like, so it's almost like a Wikipedia article. They just state what happened. So, like, their most controversial song is "Angel of Death," right? It's about the Holocaust. It's about Auschwitz. But they're not like in support of it.
Okay. That's
so the story behind that is I believe Jeff Hanneman's either grandfather or father.
Yeah, his dad. I think it was his dad was in World War II. Yeah.
So he was like really obsessed with like World War II memorabilia, history. He like really dug his nose into all that stuff.
What side was his dad on?
Obviously,
he was on the Allies.
Obviously,
okay. Well, Hanneman. That sounds. Yeah.
His dad was a fucking Nazi who fled Germany. But they're kind of like and they do lean into it a lot. So they got accused of being, a fascist Nazi supporting band, and so they started playing up to that because they like to kind of shock. It's kind of like punk, it's that kind of punk spirit where they want to be like, oh yeah, we're the bad guys, so okay, yeah, we're into all this stuff. But I think I had a phase definitely when I was in my early 20s of like getting really into like reading about dictators and like genocide and all the kind of worst elements of human society. So like if I was writing lyrics at that time, I probably would have wrote a lot of songs like Slayer. So to me, I've always kind of seen it as that. I mean, obviously everyone takes different things from it, but for me, I've just seen it as like it's almost like a kind of way of coping with this horrible shit that happens. It's like
I get it.
You got to write about it, but it's art, so people might see it and think this is a fucking disgrace and whatever, and you can't tell them they're wrong. So but so for me, it took me longer to get into Slayer than the other big four. I was more into the other three.
I can see that. I feel like they're probably one of the harder ones to get into.
Yeah, I remember first hearing Slayer, and I was like, nah, it's not for me.
Was it this album?
I think the first Slayer I heard was probably this album. Yeah, I just remember not liking Slayer at first, but then I had a phase where I got really into Slayer, which is funnily enough around the same time I was reading about all these serial killers and stuff. So I was like, yeah, okay. But yeah. And what about you guys? When did you? So Corey, you've obviously been into Slayer for
a long time. It was honestly my first band, my first thrash band that got me. Well, no.
I thought you said Megadeth.
It was Megadeth and then Slayer like shortly after, like not that much longer after. So, but But yeah, they were the second one I got into, and then Metallica was the third, which I know blows Matt's mind out, but I just wasn't into metal at the time because my first CD was the fucking Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's when I was younger. So
which one? Californication?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That was the popular album at the time.
That's a killer album.
It is. It was a great album.
Yep. We're not talking about that.
I mean, we could switch gears here.
But then I've said this story before. My dad had an assistant. He was really into metal. He gave me Hangar 18. It was awesome. So then that made me go into more things. And the first Slayer song I remember hearing, strangely enough, isn't from this album. It was Bloodlines from the God Hates Us All album.
It's a very random Slayer song to first hear.
It was we used it in like a video that we made, strangely enough, but no lyrics because it was just the song itself was fucking great. So that made me want to go back and be like, all right, let's see what they have. Rain and Blood was the first one. I was like, this is fucking awesome. Like, this is a great album.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. And then from there, I just continued down their discography.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, Slayer are definitely not a band you discover on the fucking radio. You know what I mean? Like, I don't listen
to the radio, so.
No. But I remember back when I was first getting into metal, I'm trying to remember when I actually first heard Slayer. It must have been, like I said before, we were just absorbing all kinds of music because of the internet. So I must have just heard some Slayer, and originally I was like, nah, but then I got into them. But Matt, you're still in the nah phase, right? With Slayer.
Okay, so I haven't actually listened to them before this week. That maybe once or twice I heard it somewhere.
Right.
But
it's the same thing like me with Nightwish last week, where I was like, I have heard a song or two. I couldn't tell you what song it was, and I couldn't tell you when I did it, but I did do it.
But I mean, I had an inkling that I probably would not like them. But
now is it
but
more
you are genuinely surprised that you're now one of their biggest fans.
Now you love it. Oh, wow.
No, I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about this band. I'll be honest. I don't. Sorry, I don't outright hate them. Which was surprising to me. I figured I would just hate them, and that would be the end of it. And I guess just over the course of the last few years, I've been listening to heavier and heavier bands, and by the time I got to this one, I didn't think they were that heavy. I thought they'd be heavier. Now, that being said, I still have complaints, but I did enjoy a lot of this album. So,
yeah, I will say this is kind of a bit like Peace Sells. This is the odd duck of Slayer's discography in a lot of ways. I mean, it's their defining album, but it's also not really like the first. So this is their third album. So the first two albums were more in line with the kind of new wave British heavy metal vibes. You could definitely feel that. This one was a complete shift into, well, it wasn't complete shift, but it was more like, okay, we're gonna push this as hard as we can. And then the albums after that, they were kind of like, we can't top Rain in Blood, so we're gonna go a bit more slower pace in some of the songs. We're gonna do a bit more interesting things, you could argue. So I definitely threw you into a difficult album to get into.
Yeah, I listened to some later Slayer, and I forget what songs they were. They were some of the top ones on Spotify.
Probably from Seasons of the Abyss.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe.
I would have thought so.
But I do think those types of songs would have been more appealing to me had we done one of those albums. Yeah. But, this is their defining album, so I understand why.
We're definitely going to be going back into the Seasons of the Abyss because I mean, consensus is usually that's the second best album that they came out with.
Yeah.
Probably their most creative album, and I think that's the one you would absorb a lot more willingly. It's just it's definitely more up your alley.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, like we said, you can't talk about Slayer without doing Rain in Blood, so this is what we're doing. Okay, so Slayer themselves. So it seems to be Hanneman and King were the two that formed the band, really. They're the two guitarists. Araya is also, he came in pretty early on, bassist and singer. Funny enough, in the earlier albums, he didn't get any writing credits really. Which again, I love the pettiness because when you see interviews with him, he's like, I did stuff, and they're like, but on the actual albums, it's like written by King and Hanneman for pretty much everything. And then Lombardo, the drummer, has never he doesn't get any writing credits at all, which is there's something off with that,
I don't know. It depends how you define writing credits, and this is something I deal with in my band. Typically, from what I've done on my research, when you're recording something, a performance isn't considered, writing.
Yeah.
So if he's just playing over something like someone else wrote, then it's not really a writing credit.
Well, I think Kerry King would agree with you on that one about Lombardo.
That goes way back. That's like how it's always been. So sadly, drummers don't often get writing credits.
Which is, I totally get that. But at the same time, Lombardo is if you asked anyone about Slayer, Lombardo is the one who had the most influence on anything because his drumming, he's known as the godfather of the double bass. Obviously he didn't invent that style, but he popularized it. And it's his drumming is fucking influential, more than anything else Slayer did, I would say.
Really? I don't know enough, but
yeah.
Dave Lombardo's drumming is pretty legendary. You would put him up there and some of the top drummers ever.
But Hanneman and King are definitely the ones who formed this band. And so King was more into traditional heavy metal. He came from that background of Merciful Fate, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, and all that kind of stuff. Whereas Hanneman was more into the hardcore punk stuff, which you could definitely feel in this album.
Yeah, when you said the word that came to you for Anthrax was punk, I was kind of confused because this album sounds very punky. The short songs, the way the vocals are just kind of spit out there. They're not he doesn't even bother hitting notes or making up melodies. It's just kind of
this album was not about that.
Go on, give us an example.
Give us an example. Literally every song.
Can you sing us an example for us?
Can I sing an example of what he's doing? It would just be. Yeah, exactly. That's what it sounds like the entire time. There are no vocal melodies. Well, okay, so there are a few, and I actually noted them down because they were so rare.
There we go. We'll get into that as we go.
Yeah, we'll get into it. I'll bring up my notes for it.
Yeah. Well, I actually prefer Aria's voice. But honestly, when he's doing more singing, I actually don't like his voice that much. When he's just yelling and barking like he is on this album, I prefer it than when he actually tries to sing. So, that,
when he has a little rage behind his voice,
it's when really he does good. When he does like the Dead Skin Mask or Seasons in the Abyss, he just sounds very bored. I don't know. I think it's intentionally atonal, right?
I was gonna say, I think he's trying to be have a creepiness to it.
Dreams. Yeah, but to me, I prefer this kind of angry.
Well, I think his voice really does well to do it that way.
Yeah,
to do it angry, fast, brutal.
Yeah,
all the songs that are war songs. Oh, they're so good.
Yeah, but Hanneman and King and Aria have all had lyrical credits throughout Slayer's history, and you can sort of tell. If you know Slayer well enough, you can sort of tell who did what. But I want to read this because it's kind of funny. So this was on Wikipedia as well. It says Hanneman's lyrics deal with Nazis, religion, warfare, and similar topics. King's lyrics are generally just very anti-religious. And Aria's lyrics usually deal with less controversial topics such as serial killers and warfare.
Less controversial.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Yeah, the bar is set.
It's you're talking about serial killers. What the fuck is this? Disney Channel or some shit,
I mean, serial killers, granted, they're not very controversial. Typically, people don't like them. So,
yeah. Yeah. Also, anyone who says Slayer's lyrics are deranged and shit, it's come on, true crime and fucking serial killers are everyone loves that shit. how many documentaries do you see about fucking Ted Bundy and stuff? It's like,
You see all the.
I don't understand it myself.
You always
Not
see all
really
those
something.
memes that are always talking about how they love watching this shit all the time. It's like,
if you got on,
here's
like,
a song that has to do with
yeah.
it. They're like, ooh, no.
yeah, it's like, oh no, you're thinking about fucking Jeff Dahmer or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like with a song, it kind of implies being enthusiastic about it.
Oh, come on, man. I'm telling you, if you go on fucking Netflix, all these true crime documentaries, they love it.
Yeah, but it's like
they don't really vilify those guys very well.
Yeah.
Look like super
but it's still like presented almost as like education, right?
So is this, man.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Super educated.
Slayer in every classroom.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, have you heard those stories of like, when people will like become pen pals with inmates, like so they'll like write to them.
I have heard, yeah.
There's definitely
a lot of women who fell in love with like Marilyn Manson. Not Marilyn Manson, Charles Manson. Probably Marilyn Manson too, but unrelated.
That's topical as well, but yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I like King's line of like he is very just anti-religious,
Just anti-religious,
which is to the point of like he reminds me of a Redditor, like a 13-year-old Redditor who's just discovered like Richard Dawkins or something. He's like, yeah, religion is bullshit, man. What the fuck? Like to the point where he was asked in a podcast when Jeff Hanneman died in 2013. Which is, obviously tragedy, and he was the one that everyone seemed to love. But King said about somebody asked him like, "Oh, do you feel Jeff's spirit with you when you're playing?" And he said, "Jeff is worm food. When you die, you go in the dirt. There is no doubt. Doubt's called agnostic. I am not agnostic." That was his funeral speech.
I bet Jeff is standing going, "You right, Kerry King, you right."
So even when he's talking about one of his dearest friends being dead, he's still like, nope, he's dead.
He sees nothing but darkness.
Right. He's not about to put on any kind of facade just to help people's feelings.
Because he's a fucking atheist, man. He's a fucking atheist. I'm not gonna say anything that could indicate life after death. So anyway, Rain in Blood. This was Slayer's third album. So this was their first album. They had a new producer for this album, which I think we should start giving shout outs to producers more often.
This is a very famous producer, isn't it?
Yeah, Rick Rubin.
Yeah.
Def Jam Records. So they were in the same studio as like the Beastie Boys and
exactly.
LL Cool J and stuff. So it's just crazy to think about. But also, I think he pushed them more. Like I don't know. Obviously, when you hear interviews with people, they never want to give credit to anyone else, really. he seemed to push them more. So in their first two albums, Corey, you mentioned this earlier, like they sounded really raw and kind of like mixed. I don't know, like it sounded like music from hell.
Like I said, like Hell Awaits especially. It just sounds like they were in hell recording because you can hear the echoes. Sounds like they were in the big cave.
It's basically a lot of fucking reverb.
A lot of reverb. I don't know why bands back then put so much reverb on all their shit.
Repeat was the thing, apparently.
Well, I mean, the thing is for Hell Awaits, it worked. That's the thing. That's the weird thing about it.
It kind of added to the spookiness. But so when the Rick Rubin came in for this album, he was like, lose the reverb straight away was the first thing he said. And I think they benefited a lot from that because this album just sounds so like
in your face.
Oh,
yeah,
it's so good.
It's just like, it was all about speed, this album. Like they wanted to be the fastest and most brutal fucking thrash band going.
You know how when we were talking about Mechanics versus Four Horsemen, and Dave Musaine's like, I'm gonna do the same song but faster, and then Slayer goes, hold my beer.
It was like, the funny thing is when, like I said, that documentary I watched, it was kind of a pissing contest between these bands. They wanted to be the heaviest, most brutal, fastest. So Slayer, at this point, 86, this album came out. They were like, right, we're going to make something that just blows people away. So apparently it was 220 BMPs on average throughout this album. So, and
Sounds
apparently
about
it
right.
was when they originally were recording it, it was 5 minutes longer, but they just played it so fast in the session that it just became like whatever 28 minutes or whatever.
28 minutes for a 10-track album.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's not completely odd if they were like a pop band, but for a metal band, that's very strange.
Yeah, they definitely wanted to play fast, and they did that on a few songs in particular.
Well, like I said, I think I remember looking through their BPMs, and I think they have about a dozen or so that clock over 200.
Yeah,
5 of them are in this album.
insanity. Yeah, it's so fast. But yeah, for me, Slayer are all about the riffs, really. The solos are unique, shall we say?
Very hooky. Very hooky. Like
no, not hooky.
Not hooky.
It's definitely up Matt's alley.
Yeah. I saw this comment this is like years ago. It always stuck with me. They said like the solos sound like ghouls being released from hell.
That's pretty appropriate,
like,
actually.
Kind of screaming and wailing stuff, but I'm not convinced. I'm not a massive fan of Slayer's solos, to be honest. I think they do fit the mood of some of their songs, but for the most part, it just sounds like. I always imagine, like a kid scribbling on a piece of paper.
Right, just a bunch of notes being fired off really quick all over the place.
Oh yeah, well I can scribble faster.
That's what it sounds like to me at some points.
Right,
but,
I feel like the solos are just there to like continue the energy of the song, not really to like prove anything, not to like say anything in particular. It's just like here's notes as fast as they can possibly be played.
Yeah. I will say it's hard to imitate though. If you try and play a Kerry King solo, good luck.
No, I'm not planning on that.
You have to like ice up your fingers after that shit.
Yeah, you just can't replicate. I doubt he ever played the same thing twice, to be honest, because you can't replicate that stuff. It's just...
He just kind of like shoehorns it in. It's like,
I don't doubt a lot of it's just improvised on the spot, just kind of just firing off notes.
Yeah.
That being said, like the speed is impressive. Like you can't deny that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, they're skilled players, definitely. Like they're tight as well. Their rhythm playing, especially. Like I remember when I was first learning guitar and stuff, I tried to play some Slayer songs. I just couldn't do it because they're just too fast. Like, anyway.
You gotta play it on easy mode.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we move into our Dave Mustaine section? The podcast.
Of course. You gotta have it.
Okay, so here we go. Dave Mustaine stories. Well, obviously he interacted a lot with Slayer, so plenty of material for this section. So as is a pretty well-known story now. Kerry King played with Megadeth for a few shows. So Slayer was already a thing at this time, so it wasn't like he was trying out for Megadeth or nothing. There's a bit of if you hear a Kerry King interview or a Dave Mustaine interview, you get a very different story. But I just wanted to read some quotes from they had a bit of a spat in the mid 2000s, which is fucking 20 years after, by the way. So they're still petty as fuck about this shit. So this was an interview with Dave Mustaine in Guitar World magazine in 2004. So again, 20 years after. The interviewer said, for a short time in the very early stage of the band, you had Slayer's Kerry King filling in the lead guitar role. And Dave Mustaine said, that was before we did the first record. He was just helping us out. He was never a member of the band. And then the guitarist was like, what was your opinion of his playing? And he says, well, before I started showing him my guitar style, he was pretty good. Afterwards, he was really good. I showed him a lot of different tricks that he had never seen before. I think I helped him out more than he's willing to acknowledge.
Yeah. I'm willing to go on record to say that I am responsible for all of Slayer's success. Just saying.
But as you know, Kerry now hates my guts. I don't know why. I don't dislike the guy, but Kerry has a problem. because he hates everyone.
Not like me, Dave Mustaine, who hates no one.
So, Kerry King's response in an interview with Abrasive Rock. They said there's been a lot of stories in the media lately with your regard to comments. So apparently he responded to this interview in previous interviews, but they said like, so in regard with your comments about Dave Mustaine, what really started the whole feud? He says, I don't know. It's funny how it comes back to me and Mustaine. You'd be hard pressed to find anyone in the media that even likes the guy. I'm just a vocal dude. So somebody always comes back and asks, what's up with you and him? Nothing's up with it. The guy's just a prick, you know? And anyone with half a sack would tell you the same thing. Fuck, shit, total ass. He's an odd guy. Fuck him. He's a fucking douchebag. Let him talk long enough and he'll bury himself. I wish he wasn't such a dickhead because I admire him, you know?
He's pretty cool, but also an asshole.
So funny.
That's the most Kerry King thing he could have fucking said.
Yeah. He just, you know, it's funny whenever these guys talk about Mustaine, they always like say he's such an asshole or whatever. But they always like, he was great on the guitar though. Like he was a sick guitar player, but he was a fucking asshole, you know?
I mean, that's accurate though, from what I've seen.
Yeah. I think the main beef, so they did this, so when this was like considered the pinnacle of thrash, was this whole big tour called the Clash of Titans tour in the early 90s, and it was Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, and then a bunch of special guests. And this was apparently like during Mustaine's phase where he had given up alcohol and drugs and everything, and he was on his like hardcore Christian phase. So all of those guys were like pissing about the whole tour, you know, having fun, which is what they want to do. Obviously, this is their biggest moment of their lives, probably. But Dave Mustaine was just being really like judgy and like, you know, they're all drinking and shit. Yeah.
I'm just picturing it, like just them all partying and him sitting in a corner in a chair, just kind of scowling at them, like how dare they have fun.
What do you mean I can't have fun? Just not your fun.
Yeah. So I think that's where a lot of the animosity. But I don't think Kerry King is the kind of guy who would respect and appreciate, you know, someone with a serious addiction problem, and you know they feel like they can't be around people drinking and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think he has that kind of subtlety and context to him. But
wait, so is it an addiction or a dick chin?
Sure.
I think it's both. Dave Mustaine had a hard life, you know. It
wasn't his fault. Bad. It was everyone else's.
The thing with Dave Mustaine is like he clearly needed to just be away from this whole scene, but obviously his livelihood depended on being a metal, you know, in a metal band, so he couldn't get away from it. But at the same time, he just takes everything to the extreme. So when he's like super against alcohol and drugs and everything, he's going to be a dick to you if you're doing it. So,
right, but he would also be a dick to you if he was drunk.
Yeah.
And then he
there's really no scenario here where he's not a dick.
Nah, he's a dick, but there's reasons for it. That's all I'm trying to say. Anyway, that's the end of our Dave Mustaine section for this week.
That's probably the longest one we've had.
Well, I mean, they have a lot of history together, these guys.
I know.
Yeah.
So.
All right. If you want to follow us on Twitter, it's at heavymetalmelee. And if you want to give us any questions or comments, or heavymetalmelee@gmail.com. Yeah, I'm getting it.
Beautiful. We have yet to receive an email, so, you know.
Send us emails. Yeah. We need them.
You can be our first.
Yeah. We'll read them out, maybe, if they're good, you know. But
yeah. Well, honestly, if they're bad, we'll probably read them out too, because there's really no competition here.
Might give you an
it'll be better than anything we say, so you know, we'll take anything. We'll take anything at this point. We'll probably start reading out the fucking spam emails we're getting at this point, but
we're not even getting those. So one day we'll get those spam emails.
No Nigerian king's giving us opportunities for a lot of money.
We'll know we've made it once we start getting some fucking spam emails.
Yeah, that's the goal.
All right, so let's get into it. Okay, Rain in Blood, Slayer's third album, released October the 7th, 1986.
Ooh, another 86er, like me and Benham here.
Yeah,
And,
although this was before I was born, so.
But after I was
You
born,
were already here. You were listening. You were rocking
I
out.
was the OG.
you were listening to it right when it came out.
So how old are you? Like 6 months old at this point. So
Yeah.
Blood was your fucking jam.
That was my my introduction to the world.
So so let's just run through the personnel quickly. So we've got Tom Araya on bass and vocals, Kerry King and Jeff Hanneman on guitars, Dave Lombardo on drums, and then Rick Rubin producing.
Yep.
So this is the dream team. Really, they were the same for the next few albums at least, and arguably their best albums. So
Billboard 200,
Mhm.
number 94.
Did they really get on the Billboard?
Yeah, number 94 that
That's-
year.
Wow. That's really impressive. I never would have thought.
Thrash was
It must have been a quiet year.
This is the gold. This is.
I'm kidding.
Everyone was just feeling really fucking depressed, and they were like, "What we got
I
here?"
would not put depressed in a Slayer song. That's definitely not what they're thinking.
Well, 86 was the golden age for thrash, so
Definitely.
anyone was getting their hands on anything thrash at this point. So, yeah, Def Jam had Slayer, so they did what they could, I guess.
I'm surprised we never got a Slayer Beastie Boys crossover.
I know, right? We got an Anthrax.
Anthrax Run DMC, right? Oh no,
Public Enemy.
yeah, Public Enemy.
Yeah. But so anyway, this album is 28 minutes 55 seconds long. So it tells you everything, really.
Short,
It could fit on one side of a tape, apparently. So yeah, but they do have it on two sides. Okay. So as we all know, the intro to the album is the song Angel of Death. Before we talk about the song, Corey, I just want to give you an intro. This is a great quote from an article. So this was a New York Times article about a show in 1988. And this was kind of like a notorious show because the fans were going fucking crazy, like ripping up chairs and like destroying the venue. And the quote just says, so Tom Araya addressed the fans like they were like, trashing everything. And he said, you guys came here to have a good time and you're blowing it big time. Why don't you give us a break? We can probably never play here again. And then the band played Angel of Death. So
he told everyone, stop destroying shit. Here is the actual anthem of destroying shit.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's his,
like,
anyways, here's Wonderwall moment.
So anyway, here's Angel of Death.
So this is the epic of the album. This is 4 minutes and 51 seconds long.
Putting the epic as the first song is certainly a move you can
brave,
do.
bold move.
God damn, this song is insane.
This is a good song.
easily One of the
Yeah.
best openings to an album ever.
It's, oh my God, the first 20 seconds, like, I put in my notes, the first second, okay, spoilers, the first 20 seconds just won the contest for me in this week. Nightwish has nothing to compete with that first 20 seconds, but like, the build-up is just insane. Like,
20 seconds of a 28-minute album is like 5% of the album.
It's just so like, I don't know. You can just feel like it feels like someone's just shaking you. Like, come on, okay, we're gonna go now. Like,
Wow.
you ready? Are you ready for this shit?
Constantly slapping you.
Yeah, it's just like, dun, and then that scream is unbeatable. Like,
Unless you're
I mean,
Rob
come-
Halford.
yeah. It
Rob
just
Halford says, man, I feel more manly here in that one.
Yeah. Apparently, when he did this scream, like, they tried to record a few more versions of it because they thought it was awesome, but they just could not replicate it because it was just. It's like.
That's not a surprise. That's such
Come
an
on.
iconic scream at this
Oh
point.
God, he can never do it. Have you ever see them live?
Oh
Like,
yeah, it's
doesn't
not
do it.
even close.
he doesn't even attempt.
My favorite one, it was like I want to say it was like 2005, and it was building up, and you're like, oh shit, here he comes. He goes, ah! You're just
Like he just hit his toe really hard.
yes. It's like, that's not what I heard from the album,
Yeah.
but I get it. I get it.
I mean, so he was notorious for like he was going fucking crazy on stage when they used to play back in the day. Like he was headbanging like a motherfucker and going insane to the point where he had to have surgery on his neck because of all the headbanging. And they told him, if you try and headbang anymore, you literally are gonna die. So you need to fucking stop. So like so I first saw Slayer in 2013. And by that point, he was a fucking statue on stage. He wouldn't move. Like he would just stand there, like, and then you go, ah, like the intro scream. So I just want to read the first lyrics of this song. Auschwitz, the meaning of pain, the way that I want you to die. It's a fucking brutal way to start your album, isn't it?
Yeah,
like the biggest tragedy in human history. We're gonna just dive straight into that.
Into it.
I love the lyrics of this song. It's so insane.
It's almost
like,
a history lesson.
God damn. So brutal. It's just this song just gives me weird feelings, man. Like, especially, okay, so the intro is obviously insane, brutal, thrash at its best. And then they do the breakdown with the melodic guitars, which is I love thrash breakdowns are probably my favorite type of breakdown. Like they just have such a way of getting you like headbanging and stuff. And then after that, like when he starts singing again, it has that kind of thing that Peace Sells had, where it's kind of like a jazzy drum beat, and it makes me want to dance. And so just the contradiction of the lyrics and the kind of dancing is so like he says at one point, he's like sickening ways to achieve the Holocaust. And then it's like
not a whole lot of dancing going on in Auschwitz.
There's no Hong Kongs happening in this one.
There's definitely no Hong Kongs. But yeah. I mean, come on. Corey, what can you say about this song? Like
it's probably the most difficult song I've had to go through live. That's for sure.
Yeah.
The moment the curtains went off and you heard the first start to the song when I went and saw them live, I couldn't move a fucking inch. Couldn't move anywhere.
Yeah.
Not only that, but everyone was just so hyped about it. All you could feel was like hot air going into your mouth, and you're just like, I'm gonna fucking die here, and I'm okay with that. Because it is just that fucking brutal.
Yeah, it's a crush, isn't it? Like the Slayer shows that I saw were just always a crush. Like everyone just charges to the front of the stage,
right up front.
Yeah,
I've never experienced a concert where that happened.
Nah,
it's always Slayer.
Yeah, I mean, Slayer
I've
fans.
Gone to 2 of their concerts, and both times I fucking got crushed.
Yeah, it's the same. Every time I've seen them, it's the same. Like, yeah. And shout out to the drumming at the end as well. That little so fast, so intense.
That's where like Lombardo really shines, is like that song, and then obviously a song later on.
I mean, he shines throughout this whole album.
He is really fucking good.
Yeah.
He just really fit, and it's so weird because with how chaotic Hanman and King can be throughout this entire album, especially in this song.
Yeah,
Lombardo can keep up. And so I feel like that would be such a difficult task as a drummer when you got so much limitations.
Yeah.
To be able to just do that and keep up with them, that's ridiculous.
So Matt, I guess this one's pretty high up for you on this album.
It's my top song.
Yeah, number one. It's number one. It's definitely number one. And
not for me.
I figured as much. It's probably number 2, right?
Number 3.
Number 3. Ooh,
Yeah.
I'm actually curious about this stuff.
You're
the intriguing one.
I got a hot take on this album.
Ooh, that was my number 1. I just feel like you can't beat that song. It's the most iconic song that they have.
I have a very distinct top 3 in this album, but yeah, this song is amazing. Like I love this song.
I thought this was the most interesting song on the album. Just like it has the most changes. It feels like they put the most effort into this song. Like they're just making it interesting from start to finish.
I mean, Hanman is really good at writing some lyrics, and that's definitely one of his like better written songs.
This song is just I mean, you can obviously tell this was why they wanted to open with this song is because of those reasons. But yeah, that's number 3 for me, but number 1 for you guys. Okay, so the next song is Piece by Piece, which is 2 minutes long, so they're getting a bit shorter now.
Like a minute 51 or something like that.
I think I'm just going to go get a drink for the next 2 songs.
Yeah, exactly right. Honestly, I think it's one of those things like, how do you follow up Angel of Death? And this, I think, is a great way to do it.
I like this song.
It's insanely fast. It's short. It's sweet. It's just, it's balls to the wall.
Okay, Matt, I wanted to play a game with you on this album. So the game is called Hook or No Hook. This song have a hook. Can you tell me one thing about this song?
My notes. Okay, I'm going to be perfectly honest here. My notes for a few of these songs literally just say fast, comma, yelling. And that's it. That's literally it. That's this song. The next song is also fast, comma, yelling.
But do you remember anything about this song?
I remember it was fast and there was yelling.
I put this as my number 5.
This is my number 4.
Yeah. I just don't know how you guys can separate them in your head because they sound so similar to each other.
That's what I was really expecting from your rankings. Like, I just wanted to see, like, how does he differentiate these songs? Because unless you're keen on what Slayer does, you're gonna be like, this 27 minutes I'm about to go through could be one song.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, when I was first getting,
Sorry, not every song is like that. I'm just going to tell you up front. Like, there's just a few that they're so fast, they're over so quickly, and it's just riffs that are played so quickly I can't really keep up with them.
I'm pretty sure there's like 4 songs that are only 2 minutes long.
Yeah, and those are the 4 I have fast, comma, yelling on.
Yeah. To me, like, when I first was getting into Slayer, I would just listen to like my top 3, and then everything else I wouldn't really listen to. But the more I listened to it, the more I got into it and could kind of separate them out. But this song, like, I don't know, the intro, for some reason I get an image of, like, probably because the name is Piece by Piece, but when they do that intro riff where it's like diddle diddle diddle, I get this image of like a weird psycho holding an axe, just like doing a like kind of skipping dance of like
no honking but skipping.
Yeah, and then when he goes diddle 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 diddle, he's just like chopping people up. I love his voice in this song as well. He's like so great. Yeah, so fucking intense. And then at the very end where he goes, "There's only one way out of here.
Piece by piece.
Piece by piece." It's like he forgot the lyrics or something, didn't he?
I love this song because, like I said, it's hard to follow up a song like Angel of Death.
Yeah.
You would imagine it was going to be a big drop off. This is still a really good song.
Look, again, if you're in it, for me, Slayer is a live band. I want to see them in a pit. If this song comes on in a pit, you're loving it. Like, what's not to like?
I mean, honestly, if you want to go in a pit, more than half of the songs on this album.
This whole album, like, flow. I mean, this whole album just fits perfectly. Like, nothing seems out of place in this album.
Pit culture. Hashtag pit culture.
So the next song, Necrophobic.
I love this song.
Is even shorter, so they just keep getting shorter and shorter. So this one is 1 minute and 40 seconds long.
Is it even a song at that point?
It's an intro into the next song.
So in the previous album they had a song called Necrophiliac, so they're getting through the whole range of necro activity. Corey, can you do me a favor here? I'm going to read you some words and then I want you to sing them as fast as you can. Okay?
All right.
So the words are strangulation, mutilation, cancer of the brain, limb dissection, amputation from a mind deranged.
Jesus, that's so hard. Oh, that's actually fucking hard. Those are words that you're not supposed to be able to say that fast.
So I think Tom Araya says these things in about 5 seconds. So, well, even less, probably like 1 second.
Let's see. Strangulation, mutilation, cancer of the brain, limb dissection, amputation from the deranged.
This is the song. I actually laughed while listening to the song because it's so funny him trying to keep up with the pace. Like, he can't do it, but he's trying his best. Like strangulation.
Well, they're you know what I love about it though? I love the lyrics because it's obviously about someone who's fucking terrified of dying, and all he's doing is thinking of ways that he's gonna die.
Yeah.
So, like, all he's doing is just like, how am I gonna die? And then you can just imagine Tom Morea's voice in your head going, "These are all the things you're gonna do to die." And you're like, "Oh shit! Oh fuck!"
You know what's funny about this song? It's 1 minute and 40 seconds long, but it has 2 verses, a chorus, and a solo. It's just that they're so bastard. Like, this is the most like when I think of this song, I just think of like like I said, weird outsider art. Like I can imagine seeing this played at like a little, dingy kind of like warehouse with like 10 people in the crowd, and they're all going, "Oh man, yeah, this is like really fucking deep what they're doing here." It's just weird. It's a weird
I
song.
just love it because in the very beginning it's like, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah. So I had this as my number 9. So this is one of my least
oh, that's
favorite.
surprising. That's my number 5 song. I just love the lyrics about it. That's why that's why I love it so much.
Matt.
It's between 4 and 10.
That's good enough. That's good enough. All right. So the next song, Altar of Sacrifice. So a bit longer now. We're getting back 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So we're getting a bit
Getting a bit long for a Slayer song. I'm not sure if I'm going to be down for that.
This is a great moshing song again.
Oh yeah.
I like this song quite a lot.
This one's better than the previous two, in my opinion. It just I feel like there's more interesting riffs, and it at times has a bit of a slower pace, so it becomes a bit more interesting.
Yeah, you can actually hear what's being played a bit more. They have good riffs though, Slayer. Come on, you have to give them that. Like they play them really fast at times, but
yeah. No, there were some good riffs in this album.
To me, this song really picks up about halfway through where he says, "Enter to the realm of Satan." It's so cheesy. Like
I really love the beginning riff of this song too.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. I'm like that. I get them mixed up a bit, but yeah, that does have a good intro.
It just has like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's so eerie and weird. It's just great.
I can't get over the way he says Satan. It's so like
enter to the realm of Satan. Praise, hail, Satan.
Like echoey thing. It's so like this is the one song where they go too far into the kind of look at us, we're Satanists. Praise, hail, Satan.
I mean, I don't know. The next song after this is pretty up there too.
Well, these two songs kind of blur into each other. So
Definitely.
this song ends. It kind of slows down towards the end, doesn't it? It's like they're like running out of energy, like, and then it leads into my number 4 song.
Ooh,
Jesus Saves, which I love the transition into this song first of all, and then the intro riff is so.
I honestly, I couldn't tell when this song started. Like it blends so well into the previous song.
That's right. When I first heard this album, that was something new to me. Like songs like blending into the next one, which I really loved. I was like, holy shit, this whole album just kind of flows. But like, yeah, this song starts with this epic, like fucking heavy as shit, slowed down. I love the guitar tone. I don't know what they're doing, but it sounds awesome. And I like the way that it slowly builds back up as well. It's like almost like a break. You've done like 3 songs now of just intense speed, and it's like, you got to shake your limbs and just like have a bit of.
Well, this is like the last song of the first side, so it's just like, all right, we're loosening up our limbs. We just
just.
And then it went right back into it.
It goes straight into it.
Threw you into a false sense of security. Guess what, bitch? We're going back into the bit.
So this is probably the most anti-religious song on the album.
This is Kerry King's time to shine, here, lyrically speaking.
And as we said before, Tamaraya is like a Christian, so I just love the fact that like they were just like, oh yeah, read this. Don't worry about the lyrics. Just just sing it as fast as you can. Don't it doesn't matter what it says. Just
there's definitely a few times in this song where you're just like, what did you say? What was that?
Yeah, it's so like I said before, atheists, like 13-year-old atheists, like. But yeah, I like the song a lot.
I love this song. It's a damn good song, and the lyrics are really good.
This one's kind of middle of the road for me.
I unfortunately have it at number 8. It would be higher, but but the thing is, like, if you're asking me, all these are ones and twos. Like it's hard for me to, if I had to rate them, this is an 8, but I do love the lyrics of this. I think it's really like one of the was it? Jesus saves, no need to pray, the gates of pearl has turned to gold, it seems you've lost your way. Like that is so fucking brutal. That is just so good. That's so good.
In case you hadn't realized already, Jesus saves is ironic in this context.
What? Are you serious?
I'm afraid so, Matt.
Oh, I thought this was a Christian
Jesus
song.
saves, no worlds of praise, no promised land to take you. There is no other way.
If you were like a 10-year-old and listening to this, and your parents were like really religious, you'd be like,
Jesus saves. Oh, that's nice.
Jesus saves, because they can't understand what the fuck he's saying, so they'd just be like, oh yeah, Jesus saves.
Accurate.
All right, so that's the end of side 1. So we begin side 2 with Criminally Insane.
Their only single, I believe, from this album.
Are you serious? This was a single?
This was, I believe, their single.
You're lying.
'Cause I think it's the only radio applicable one.
But it's not though.
What?
I don't like.
Are you thinking of the right song?
I think it is Criminally Insane. So
this is
yes,
the one
I understand the context of the lyrics, but I feel like in terms of palatability, the music is a little bit more down.
It sounds exactly the same as the other songs that were way too fast and just had yelling in it.
I think this one's a little bit more slow than the other songs.
So I will say the cymbal intro is fucking creepy as hell.
Oh, it's great.
I love that sound.
It's very stalkerish.
Yeah, it just sounds like, I know Slayer are great at doing that kind of creepy feeling. Like it's like unsettling. It's like, what are you doing? Like you can just imagine it. Yeah, just like
it's so good.
And then it goes into a really good riff. I don't see this as a radio song.
I'm not saying it's a radio song. I'm saying it's the only one that.
No, it's not even close.
But apparently it was the single, so you can't argue with fact. But
how well did it do?
I mean, I can't imagine it doing that well at the time.
So I had this as my number 7.
Same. This is my number 7.
Yeah. I think the riff. I love the intro, and I love about halfway through where they go back into the cymbals. That's pretty sick. But for the most part, the riffing is just kind of fits the mood again of the album. But
this is
I do love Tom Araya though singing this.
This is like one of my least favorite songs on the album.
I'm surprised. That's a really good song.
I said the Criminally Insane. Yeah, I do like the lyrics.
Did nothing for me.
As well.
This is salvation, but what have I done? I have just only begun to take your fucking lives.
Yeah. Speaking of doing nothing, so this is the next song is my least favorite. This is Reborn.
It's down there for me as well.
Yeah, it's definitely it's I mean, it's still a good song when you listen to it.
Yeah.
It's if it comes up, I'm not going to skip it. It's still a good song.
I don't skip anything on this album, but I will say at this point of the album, it's a bit samey at this point. I know Matt probably felt that after the first song, but for me, this song is like, okay, I think if it's a standalone song, it's all right, but just its placement in the album, I'm kind of like,
Well, I said it's kind of forgettable if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, this was another one of my fast, comma yelling songs.
Yeah,
but I added a lot of mumbling too, so there you go, a little bit extra.
I did say that the final solo was pretty brutal. It was pretty awesome.
It has a bit more mumbling than the other ones.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good for this song. The only thing I remember about this song is when he says something like blah 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 torn. That's the only part I remember. So I'm with Matt on that one. Mumbly. The next song is Epidemic, which is a horrible thing to imagine, isn't it?
Pretty topical.
Imagine an epidemic. That would be insane.
I like this one though.
I knew I said in my notes, Matt is going to like this song because to me, this sounds like a typical kind of traditional thrash song. Like it's got a bit more, it sounds like a B-side Metallica song at points.
Yeah.
Like it's got that.
I mean, it's not one of my favorites, but it's in the top 4.
Yeah. To me, it's number 8.
Number 9 for me.
Yeah. I can see why, because it's just different, isn't it? It's a bit, this would be the one I would pick for the radio if I was
probably. I said good guitar riffs, more dynamic than the rest of the songs, and that I like the slowdown in the second half.
I like the great. I
Yeah.
like the chorus. The chorus is really good too.
Yeah, it has some good riffing in the end, definitely.
Death machine infests my corpse to beat. It's like it's got that galloping sound to it.
Yeah, I will confess that I don't know the lyrics to most of these songs. I've never been a lyrics guy. Like, I don't know. I never just read up lyrics for whatever reason.
Slayer's not really exactly known for their lyrical.
Nah,
prowess.
just some things stick out to me, but for this song, no, nothing. All right, so now we get into the last two songs. So this is my hot take. Postmortem is my number 2.
It's my number 2 as well.
Fucking love this song.
Postmortem is great.
I
It's a
really
good song.
love this song.
I thought this song reminded me more of Metallica than the previous song, especially in the singing.
Yeah, this song is like, this is I mean, I don't know if it's underrated, but to me, this is like.
No, I have it at number 3.
Yeah,
I said it's a fantastic build up to a great song.
I mean, there's a clear top 3 in this song. In this album to me, but like this song is so good, like especially the intro and all the riffing playing and stuff. And when at one point in the intro, it switches to this kind of chugging riff, and at that point, if I'm in a mosh pit, I'm going at that point. Like it's so good, like the way it builds up into that. To me, that alone puts it at number 2. But the rest of the song is good as well. Like I like the transitions throughout are all insane. Yeah, I like how it builds up more and more intense throughout the song, and then it ends with that usual sort of crazy shit. And it's also one of the few songs I can actually sing along to. Which is...
I said singing is more melodic. It uses melodies! Exclamation point.
Hook. It has hooks. It has hooks.
Yeah. Hook or no hook? It has hooks.
This is a hook.
Might be one of the few songs that actually has a hook.
Yeah.
I don't remember it, but I noted it, so it must have been okay.
Yeah, it has musical hooks maybe more as well, which is good.
Reality, await the final cow.
Yeah, there you go. There's a hook.
Down.
And it also has an amazing ending because it builds in perfectly to my number 1 song, Raining Blood.
Number 2.
Number 3, probably. I think
The album is called Raining Blood, and this song is Raining Blood. So clever, you know. How the hell do you beat like the intro to this song is perfect.
Oh, so good. So eerie, so creepy.
Oh my god. And the way that the drum I mean, that's all you need to say, isn't it?
It's just so foreboding. You just think you're like, oh fuck, where am I?
Like
where am I being led into?
the
It reminds me of how when you go into the roller coasters that are trying to tell a story,
Mhm.
and it's just slow, and this is where you get the slow parts, and then right when it goes, and you see the drop, and you're like, oh fuck, and then you just go.
That's a really good guitar riff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, it's so legendary.
I wish they did more with it, like during the song, but it's good.
Yeah. Oh god.
I heard this song for the first time when we were in Germany at that metal bar.
Really?
This is the first time you heard
what?
the
This
song?
is the first time you heard it?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I was like, "What is this song?" And I think Benham told me what it was.
Yeah, I
You were
probably did.
drunk at that
Yeah.
time.
Well, definitely.
So I heard the song. This is what I think. May have been my first Slayer song. I don't remember exactly. It was in one of the early Guitar Hero games as well, which I definitely remember. But yeah, oh man, I love the way like the thunderclasps as well at the beginning are so intense, and then that riff is just insanely fast. Like,
Yeah. I thought this would be one of the longer songs, but it's just mostly rain noises. But even still, it's a good song.
It fits the atmosphere though. I love how it's kind of like really slow kind of intro, and then a massive, just insane sort of 3 minutes of riffing and speed, and then it ends with like 1 minute of just rain sounds to kind of like, you could almost feel yourself just standing in the rain, you know what I mean, of like the blood and stuff.
Under
And
a lacerated sky.
we gotta give a shout out to the breakdown halfway through as well. That did it. If you don't handbag to that, you're not a metalhead. Like, there's nothing like, especially Corey. Yeah, when the cymbals kick in, come on. I'm sorry, but if you don't headbang to that, you're not a metalhead. Like, you can't not.
Right.
Like,
You got to take your metalhead card away.
Metal
yeah,
card.
I will remove your metal card if you know. And then when he comes with those final lyrics of "raining blood from a lacerated sky," so good.
Oh.
And then the
And you get one of the craziest solos in the entire fucking album.
Yeah, I put the same thing in my note. This is my favorite solo on this album just because of the insanity of it. Like,
I'll have
it
to
fits.
re-listen to it. I don't remember it, but
Corey, do you want to sing it?
What? The last
King-
part?
Sing the solo.
Oh.
Matt, does that refresh your memory?
Probably
it's
not.
gorgeous. Yeah, I see why you like it so much.
Actually, wait a second.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, you got it right. You don't worry
Yeah.
about it. That was it.
That was note for note completely correct.
Just wanted to make sure. And then
It just suddenly ends, and then the rainfall. Beautiful. It's
a few of
almost
their
like,
live shows, they've actually had like blood raining from
yeah.
onto the, which is fucking awesome.
They usually end with this song, don't they, as well, which is cool.
Oh, this is like the best song to end with. You can't
Yeah,
end with any other song.
because it just ends with like 1 minute of just rainfall, basically. So it's
Yeah.
almost just like I can just imagine myself listening to this album
Just
in
like-
a pouring rain, and you just kind of like drained. You know, you just like, what the fuck was that?
It's like, yeah. The actual climax of an
Yeah.
album.
It was a great way to end the album, and it was the end of the album. So, conclusion time. Matt,
You want me to go first?
I want you to explain the differences between this and Nightwish once.
In one word, what's the difference?
Man, fuck if I know. These are you couldn't have picked two more different albums, I think, unless you pick like a pure like pop album.
Look at the draw, man. Look at the draw.
There was no draw. We chose this.
Don't.
Sorry.
Don't tell us. Don't tell them.
My
Don't tell 'em our
iPad.
secrets.
My
Don't
iPad.
tell them our
Started,
secrets.
my iPad started talking to me.
Your iPad is telling you that Raining Blood is a much
res-
superior album.
It responded
More
to
melodic,
something I
there's more
said.
hooks.
Anyways, they're just completely different. Like Nightwish has, it's almost all hooks. It has very well-defined vocal melodies. This has no well-defined vocal melodies at all. Like even the ones that are vaguely there, they're not super defined. They're just different albums. I totally get the appeal of Slayer. I didn't really before, but I get it now. It's if you want to get some aggression out, this is definitely the album to listen to. It's very punky. It's very just kind of like raw sounding. I'm very impressed with the speed they're able to play in. But I mean, I'm not going to listen to this album in my free time. I'll be honest, it's just not for me.
Well
Yeah.
then, on that note, who do you vote for between Nightwish's one and Slayer?
If you had to listen to one again,
It would be Nightwish. I came to respect Nightwish a little bit more after listening to the full album. Like
Nice.
I thought you were about to say you respect Nightwish more after listening to Slayer.
well, maybe. But I don't
would
know.
this album have been better if Talia was on it, or
This
Would it be
Slayer
less
album?
boring? Would it be less boring? And
That would be the weirdest shit ever, man. Someone should do it.
I had an angel of death.
I would love to hear Taria try and sing half of these songs.
He can't because he's not singing them, and that's really my problem with it. Like it's just the vocals. Like I like his tone. Like I think he has a good tone. But there's just no melodies. There's nothing there for me to kind of like. Nothing gets stuck in my head. It just goes one ear out the other ear, and sorry guys.
No, I can.
Why are you sorry?
I can totally understand that. I mean, I agree. Obviously, they don't. It's not about the melody of the vocals. Slayer. It never has been.
Nope.
It never should be. And I can totally respect like we started the episode by saying what Flo said about Slayer, so I can totally understand that point of view. I don't have that problem. I fucking love this album. I think this is an all-time classic in the speed thrash metal genre. Probably in terms of like pure thrash, this is the one I would go for. Like it just embodies everything that thrash is supposed to be. I'm sure that other bands have played faster and more brutal shit since this album, but to me, this, if you place it in the time, is just like, it just.
Where the hell else can you listen to something like this at that time?
It just captures that feeling of like, I don't know, creepiness and urgency. Like every song, you feel panicked when you're listening to it. It's like, they're speeding up. It's like you're never comfortable listening to this album. It's fucking brutal throughout. It has the perfect blend of the kind of hardcore aggression and the metal. It has enough metal that because I don't listen to a lot of hardcore. I'm not really into that stuff, but this has enough metal that I can get into. But having said all that, like my three favorite songs by a distance are Postmortem, Raining Blood, and Angel of Death, which all have a bit more melody. So I'm not ready for the.
I do feel like if
dream stuff.
Yeah. I feel like if more of the songs were like those three, I would have placed this album a lot higher. But
yeah,
it's just there's too many really quick pieces that are just like I can't tell them apart, and it's just a lot of screaming and I don't know, it doesn't do anything for me. But it like. The good ones are really good. Like I would listen to a few songs on this album, like Angel of Death, again.
Yeah, they were definitely going for something with this album, and that's why I like respect about it is that it all fits kind of perfectly.
What they were going for.
But when we do another Slayer, when we do another Slayer album, we'll do Seasons of the Abyss, because I think Matt, you would enjoy that a lot more.
I'm looking forward to it.
So my vote goes for Angel, for Rain in Blood.
Angel of Death. Just go for that song.
Yeah, just that
alone. I think if you like when you think of thrash metal, as much as Megadeth and Metallica are obviously like forefronts of probably like popularity, I think Slayer is like it's thrash
the most
in a physical form.
Yeah.
In a physical form, it's just everything you want. And I think now that I'm looking back at our word game, brutal maybe isn't my word anymore. It's probably more aggression.
Yeah.
Because I think it's just it's so appropriate for what they are trying to like portray in this album, especially this album. Now, Matt, we did say, and I even said it before we even chose this one, but I felt like we needed to go over this album. But Seasons of the Abyss, way up more your alley.
Yeah.
Way up more alley. And I think you're going to really like that album when we do go.
Okay. I didn't absolutely hate this album, and I went into it thinking I would.
Yeah, I went into it thinking that it wasn't going to be your flavor. But
it's definitely not my cup of tea, but I can respect it. Probably more than Megadeth.
That's a hot take. I'm surprised. I feel like Megadeth is a lot more palatable than Slayer, but
no. Okay, so the difference I'm seeing between the two is Slayer knows what they are. They know exactly what they're doing. Specifically on this album, with Megadeth, I felt like they were like just throwing shit around. Like, let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. Yeah. But
are you talking about with the Peace Sells album?
Yeah, specifically.
Peace Sells, yeah.
So obviously, I think. And even Behn even said it. It was the odd child. You'll like a lot of the other stuff, but Slayer, like you said, they definitely know what they were going for. They did not give two fucks about what the audience was going to think of them. They're like, we're going to sing this shit. You're going to like it. Let's fucking rock. And that's pretty much what it is. And
they do. They, again, like we said in previous episodes, like this was an album that they had a clear vision of what they wanted it to be. And they executed it.
It's not a messy album. It's a very.
I feel like of the four thrash bands, the big four, I feel like they're the ones that stuck most to what they were wanting to do. even though they did change things later on.
I can't imagine Slayer like trying to make a pop hit, like
Well,
Enter Sandman.
they did do some like new metal-y stuff with
they
Diablo.
had one album, but even that was still heavy.
And that was still really fucking heavy. Like,
they would never do a ballad.
Some banger songs.
There would never be a Slayer ballad. All of their lyrics are always.
I mean, I would say their closest thing to a ballad was like fucking 213, because that was a fucking creepy ass song. It was supposed to be a romantic one, but whatever. Anyways,
no.
This is a fucking great album. I honestly, I know we put Ride the Lightning into our Hall of Fame. I hope this gets into the Hall of Fame because I think it deserves to be up there with Ride the Lightning. I think it's as good, if not better. I think it's as influential.
It's definitely as influential in terms of.
It's just phenomenal. Everything about it from beginning to end. And like I said, even the songs that I didn't rank high, I'm not going to skip them because they're fucking good. It's just a good fucking song.
Also, they're like 2 minutes long, so you're not losing out.
Exactly. I'm not like, and so again, as the lifter of the group, when I'm lifting weights, this fucking album gets me hyped. So I'm gonna be doing some PRs with this shit.
So you're great
song. So I'm going for there you
go for Nightwish.
That would be quite the twist.
With the twist.
So, okay, Matt, is any song on this better than Escape?
Why you have to ask me that?
You don't need to answer that.
No, I'm gonna say no.
No.
I like Escape. Again, it wasn't even my least favorite song on Ride the Lightning.
We know that. We know this.
I'm just reiterating the fact.
You make sure you tell us that.
Well, you're the one who fucking brings it up every episode, so.
We're always gonna talk Escape. Escape is the measurement. It's like better than Escape or worse than Escape. It's like how I view life, to be honest. And maybe next episode we'll find out if anything's better than Escape, because Matt, what are we doing next episode?
We're doing Opeth, one of my favorite bands ever. We're doing the album Ghost Reveries, which is just a fucking fantastic album. One of their best, if not the best album they've ever done, in my opinion.
What would you say is the other like great album that they did?
Oh, they've done a ton of great albums, and that's the hard part, like narrowing it down. The other one I was considering bringing up to this group is Blackwater Park, just because it's more renowned. It was kind of their breakout album, but I feel like Ghost Reveries is just that much better that I think we should do that one.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to this a lot.
I am looking forward, because I remember listening to Opeth a while back, and I really liked a lot of their sounds.
They're brutal as hell, at least like this period of their.
Would you say that one of their influences is?
I'm sure, yeah.
Slayer?
But they also have progressive influences, so they managed to make it interesting.
So it's like Slayer
for me,
Slayer and Nightwish.
Yeah, it's like you mix Slayer with Genesis.
Oh, Genesis. So Slayer with Phil Collins at the drums.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll talk about that on the actual Opeth episode. So, thanks for listening.
Again, if you want to follow us on Twitter at heavymetalmelee, comments, suggestions, criticisms, shit about Matt liking Escape.
Yeah.
Email us at heavymetalmelee@gmail.com.
Just give us an email, just for like
please, just one email.
Say, hey, man, you guys are doing a great job.
No, even if you say it's shit, just anything. We'll take anything at this point.
And if you're watching the video, smash that like button, hit that subscribe key, and jingle that notification bell.
Jingle the fucking bell.
Helps our YouTube algorithms.
How hard is it to jingle a bell? It's not hard.
No.
Just fucking do it.
Fucking do it.
All right.
All right.
Done.
See you guys.
See you later.
Peace.
Right.